Hey guys, welcome to Not David's Maleta. My name is Serge. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you the valve body for this BMW X5. I have already removed it. I do want to talk about the issue that we're having, and this is why we removed it as a result. So, what's happening on this BMW is once you put it into drive, automatically it puts it into park. Sorry about this noise, guys, but anyways. You heard what I said. You place it into drive, it goes straight into park. And you keep doing it. Sometimes you could trick it and then it's gonna go. Additionally, this is what's happening. So whenever you start driving, it's also gonna be like very weak. It seems like you're just pressing down on the gas pedal too much, and the vehicle's like barely moving. It might just be barely rolling, and you just hitting the gas and stuff, and you think something seriously is wrong with your transmission. In reality, it's not that serious, but you should not be revving it and actually driving it like that, okay? Instead, what you should end up doing is clear the codes, and once you actually clear the codes, if it's going to allow you to clear them, it did in my case, it's actually going to start driving again, but you're still gonna have that issue where once you put it into drive, it's gonna go straight into park, okay? One of the leading causes of that happening is one of these, okay? So this is an original plastic piece. It does have some numbers here. I don't know if you could actually tell, but the number is 6HP26/28. I don't know if this is the production date or that's just the model of the transmission, because these transmissions are 6 HP is basically kind of like what it's referred to. So the BMW we are referring to, this is a 2007 BMW. This is a 4.8i X5, and this is X-Drive type of version. We have other issues in this BMW other than this, so there's gonna be like more videos being filmed, and as I work out the issues, I will be sharing with you guys kind of like what's going on. So there is also a problem with the four-wheel drive system, which we'll get into in a different video. But essentially what ends up happening, guys, once you start engaging into park and then, into drive, and then it goes into park, it usually has something wrong with this, okay? This is not an expensive part. It could be like a $10 part, okay? You could get like a whole kit with this, that, and those 15, 16, 18 bucks, under 20 bucks basically, to fix your transmission, okay? So what I believe ends up happening is this. Well, usually that's actually kind of like what happens, okay? Not that what I believe, but there's going to be a story with why I believe that type of deal. But what ends up usually happening is this piece, being plastic, gets cracked. Once it's cracked and you open up your transmission, you remove your valve body, you don't actually have to remove it completely. You could actually like tilt it a little bit, and you could see that this piece is going to be cracked. When it's cracked, that is the issue. Replace it, and then you're gonna be good to go, okay? In my case, it wasn't broken. So here's a replacement Chinese part. Whether or not it's going to be good, I don't know. But if you observe, let's see, I'm just gonna put these things back to back. If you observe this piece right here, you could see the rubber gasket on this one is a lot shorter. So this one's a little bit more defined. Also, it's springy, okay, like a rubber gasket should be. Same thing, on this side. This is a brand new one, okay? But this one here, it's a little harder. It's not as springy. There is some of it in there, but it's not as springy. So that's where I believe comes in, okay? I believe there's a couple issues that could be happening with this transmission. In my case, because this isn't broken. This is original piece that I pulled out from the transmission. It's either not sealing up properly with these seals and fluid is getting passed, or transmission fluid starvation. So what happens there is your transmission fluid starts leaking out. Sometimes due to this little guy, okay? In my case, this wasn't leaking, okay? I'll also explain how to pull it out and stuff, this valve body, in case you guys are wondering. But anyways, sometimes the transmission's leaking. Due to my observation, this is what I found. So underneath the ZF transmission, there's well, at least in my case, okay, maybe yours is missing, but there is a metal tray that goes underneath, so you're not gonna leave oil marks everywhere in your BMW and embarrass yourself everywhere you go. You're just gonna have like oil, because all BMWs leak oil. So the good thing is they do have some under trays, okay, to keep you from leaking oil in people's driveways or your own. So when I remove the actual oil tray underneath, it's got all kinds of dust there, debris, and bunch of transmission fluid on there. Additionally, due to my observation, I've noticed that some of the bolts that hold down the transmission pan was oily, okay? And that's probably because the transmission oil pan seal is not properly sealing up, causing your transmission to leak. I did not find any leaks around this little thing. And if you remember any of my Sprinter videos, this kind of looks like a 13-pin connector type of plug. In a BMW, it works a little bit differently. So I will give you guys a close-up and stuff, and I'm going to explain this a little bit more. But we're going to get into this in just a second, okay? So when you start having problems with these ZF transmissions, usually it's this. Sometimes it's these little things. It's these like rubber grommets. They have like this little bevel to the side, and the way that they installed, you got to push them in, and this is what you're going to be seeing when you open up the transmission. 4 of them like this in the row inside of the transmission once you open up the valve body. What happens is these things over time, you know, they begin to wear out and stuff like that. They don't seal up properly, and because of that, you're going to have issues. So you don't want that to happen. So we do have them. If we need to replace them, I don't know if I'll be replacing it in my case, but the most important thing is this, okay? Now, additionally, once you start having these issues where when you put it into drive and it goes directly into park, okay? One of the things that could be wrong is obviously your solenoids, which are located right here behind. So this is actually original transmission pan. So those are the solenoids. These solenoids will start like acting up or whatever, and you know, they got to be cleaned and stuff. So I actually got to pull mine out, and I got to clean and inspect every single one of them. But anyways, they will start basically malfunctioning, and some people just go ahead and install them all. If that did not fix the issue and you've done everything else, then the unfortunate thing is your valve body has seen better days. And while these things are not cheap, you could get a remanufactured one, like a Chinese version, about like 300 bucks. But that is not to be recommended because it's a big job, and put like one from China. It may or may not work because there's a first generation and second generation. Mine is happening to be the first generation, and there's plenty of these for sale for 300 bucks. But a lot of these BMWs 2010 and higher, it's second generation, and those are going to be a little bit more expensive, harder to find. But fortunately, I got the first generation. If I do need a valve body, I could pick one of those up, okay? So furthermore, let's get into removal of this valve body, because maybe you're stuck and you're trying to remove this valve body and it's just not coming out. To remove the valve body, you're gonna need to get all of these bolts out of here, okay? What I have done here is I marked all of the holes here with green that are bigger, which take a bigger type of bolt, okay? So this has 2 size bolts. It's got the little ones, it's got the big ones. Not that you're going to make mistakes, but the bigger holes, I did mark them. Some of them already, you know, like the paint wore off. But anyways, like that one's not marked, and a couple of them over here not marked, and that's okay. But anyways, once you pull out all of these type of bolts, there's going to be 4 short ones over here. Actually, 3 short ones. You see, yeah, 3 short ones. You remove the 3 short ones, and transmission's going, like this valve body is already going to make movable. What you're going to need to do is slide this down. You slide that out like that to unlock your pin connector, and this is what you're going to see, okay? So this here is going to be on the outside of your transmission. It's going to be sticking out this much. you will need to remove your electronic connector, and it's going to be stuck in your transmission. And there's only one way to put it in, and let's see, this is the way that it goes in. Okay, so you gotta like apply some pressure to install it. Now, when you remove all your bolts, if you have not removed this piece, you know, you're gonna try to remove this valve body and it's gonna be stuck. Even though you released it, even though you pulled this down, it's still going to be stuck on there. So what you're gonna need to do is, you're going to need to remove this piece, slide this out, because this is a clip that basically clips in this piece, okay? To basically push it back, it's another different story. But once you release this and remove the connector, you're gonna need to start wiggling this out. As you can see, like there's some problem like wiggling it out, right? But you're gonna need to start wiggling it out. And you're gonna be dealing with these two seals here. And additionally, there's gonna be a seal right there. And that other hole is for the actual clip that slides in here. Let me show you this kind of like closely. So there's a seal there that seals inside of the valve body. That little hole right there, that is for the clip. And then these two additional seals, this is where it seals up at the actual transmission. Now, once you do, release the clip, you could start prying this out with like a flathead screwdriver. Slowly but surely, just start prying it. You could tell I damaged it a little bit because I was prying it. So expect damaging yours unless you're very careful. This piece is so cheap that I recommend replacing it. You're pulling it out anyways. If you do not pull this piece out of the transmission, and this pulls out on the outside of the transmission, this does not push in like some ZFs. This needs to be pulled out, okay? So you're pulling it out, please replace it. This will prevent leaks. Now, on installation, apply transmission fluid on all of these seals. Make sure it's nicely lubed up. Also, this little mark right here where it inserts, I do want to point out that the mark is towards the bottom. So the way that this valve body sits in the vehicle, it's basically sitting this way, okay? So the little groove, if you're like upside down laying on the ground, the little groove is going to be facing the bottom. So as you're over there at the bottom, it's slightly to the side, so it's not gonna be quite straight. So you're gonna need to wiggle it some, and then you put it on like that. Once the valve body is installed, that's how you're gonna need to be installing it basically. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of cover some of these things because removal of this bolts, it's the easy part. All you gotta do is pull the pin out. Before pulling the pin out, there's an Allen head, which is right here, this Allen. This is the Allen, which is number 10. So it's a 10. So this is actually what you use for removing, for draining your transmission fluid. So you can drain it from the pen, okay? I do want to show you some other things. Once you drop your oil pan, okay? Oil pan has magnets that do need clean. But here's the thing, don't even worry about that because do not reuse this oil pan. Buy yourself a new oil pan. I have a new pan here. It's actually not here on the table, but I have one. I have all the new stuff. So the new pan comes with a new seal and the oil filter for the transmission. It's built into the pan. So good thing to replace it, okay? Also, be careful when cleaning the transmission. I don't recommend you using brake cleaners and stuff. I'd say use lint-free cloths to wipe things down. You don't need to wipe out the whole transmission down, but for instance, you're gonna see there's some buildup on the speed sensor, like this speed sensor. You wipe it with your finger and you're gonna see it. This is from some like metal debris gets on there. It's not too much, but there's some on here. Just for the future, so your speed sensor is going to know proper speed or whatever, it's gotta be cleaned up. So just look around it. If you see like any metal debris, clean them up. So there's that, okay? Also, when installing this valve body, you want to make sure you aim it correctly. And let's see, I don't want to. Okay, I'll just do this, okay? So that little shift mechanism, You want to make sure it's properly aligned, especially if you remove anything over here. And when you're installing it, this needs to be properly aligned with your gear selector. So that's important. So observe it how it is installed on yours. Fortunately, you do not need to unplug any electrical components here. It's not necessary unless you're completely taking apart the valve body. Now, what happens in the case of a valve body basically like not being good, you could send it out also for getting it rebuilt. And that's where you'll pay probably like $600-700, and you'll have to also give yours up as a core, probably like $100. Okay. All right. So I think I already covered enough here with this valve body. I will be installing it, and I will be covering kind of like what goes what. But I like to explain things, because if you're out there just DIYing this thing and you don't know anything about it, this information is going to be helpful to you, to help you learn and not be afraid, to tackle this. But at the same time, please be careful when installing stuff. Please be observant. Do not force nothing. In my professional opinion, I advise you to install the valve body first. Do not put this connector in first, because, well, you're not going to be able to put the transmission valve body in there. Put the connector last. So start installing this. Put like a few bolts in here. Just make sure everything's aligned. All your little shift, gear selectors, like everything's aligned. Make sure that you install this piece first. This piece belongs like over here, okay? And it would be about like that. It'd be sitting like that in here. But the thing is, when you remove the transmission, this is probably going to be stuck on the transmission, but it might also fall off. Just want to make sure that's properly aligned and everything's in there. But make sure this goes on, because the valve body goes in this way, okay? But here's the thing, guys. This is not for everybody to try to do this, and I'm trying to insightfully speak to you guys about this, because I don't think I'm talking to mechanics. I'm talking to somebody that's maybe like first DIYers. They're trying to tackle this themselves, and I want to explain as much as possible. But don't take just my word for it. Look at some other videos. Look it up how to do it properly, because you want to make sure you're doing it correctly. Because yes, at the end of the day, yes, you could damage some stuff, and it's going to cost you money. So don't come blaming me because I didn't cover something, which nobody does. This is YouTube, so you got to take everything with a grain of salt, because some information could be misleading, some information could be wrong. So don't just trust my information. Look it up yourself and tackle it then, okay? But when you're installing this, make sure you look up all the right torque specifications and tighten all this stuff correctly, because what I found in my transmission is some of these hold-down bolts were loose. They were not even tight. So if they're loose, guess what? This piece is not going to be sealing up properly. Again, causing an issue with it not properly shifting. And I guess lastly, what I was saying in the beginning, that I found that this transmission fluid was leaking some. It's a possibility that was just starvation of the fluid, that it just leaked out in those places. Additionally, I could tell the same thing happening with engine oil filter housing. It's completely wet with fluid. Maybe bad seal, maybe not tight enough, but you have to always monitor the situation, because you're going to be losing fluids. Not a good thing, okay? But anyways, guys, that's all for this video. Come back for more, because I'll cover like various different cars on my channel. So take care of yourself, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.